Well, it's that time again, ladies and gentlemen, for the Political Pulpit. I'm your host, Josh Navarrete, and we are back to you today on the Political Pulpit Newswire. We're going to give you some news that's come down the pipeline that I think is important for you to see, to know, and you can decide for yourself what's good, bad, and ugly. We're going to talk about California and some federal responses to what's happening in the elections in our government. So if you're watching us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, X, or OSN.TV, make sure you tell your friends about it. We will be right back.
We pray for love and unity, and that the church would find new zeal and commitment to the mission and purpose of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
You're a liar! You're a liar!
Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart.
The news that's come down the pipeline and talk to you about all the things that we think it's important for you to see and to tell your friends about. Because if you listen to legacy news or watch TV, you're going to get a different, skewed, biased opinion, to be quite honest with you. So we'd give it to you from a biblical perspective and let you know what we are all thinking. Before we start or continue, make sure you like, share, and hit the subscribe button. Some of you guys are now watching us on Instagram. It's going to look a little bit funny because of the way things are set up, but it's okay. We're going to do it from we're going to do it the best we can, and how we can, right? So if you see it and you don't like it on Instagram, go to YouTube. We are live. If we're on Instagram, we're live at the other places. So I want to talk to you all about some things that are important to us, like what's happening in the news cycle. Also, we are launching a new movement, a new partnership program called Fresh Fire, and you guys can now join us there. But we'll start here, www.politicalpulpit.com/partner, so that you can become a ministry partner. Yes, this is a news cycle. Yes, it's a news program, but we are also doing ministry through the world, lens on the things that are happening. We are also working through some technology updates and advances so that you can receive the media even better. You also want to join us on OSN.TV. OSN.TV used to be End Time Ministries app, but now it's OSN because there's other networks on there. There's other programs on there. We're super excited to partner with our friends at OSN.TV. So you can download the app there and use promo code Josh for an exclusive 10% off of that subscription. There's a lot of other information on there and a lot of prophecy news, a lot of great encouraging ministries that are existing on that platform now. And we're going live every week. So you're going to find us there. All right. As producer Destiny starts to get our clips ready and we manage through some of these technical advances and glitches and whatever else happens, bear with us. We're doing our best. And one thing I want to mention to you, producer Des, when you hit our lower thirds, you got to exclude them from our portrait view. All right, let's do it. So let's cue up our first clips and get through the news and show you all what's happening while we are on here. Hit the comment section. I want you to type in something. Type in Fresh Fire. Fresh Fire is the fire of God that you all need in your lives. And I know we're talking about the news, but let me tell you, when you have the Holy Spirit in your life, it's going to help you figure out what's good, bad, and ugly, and what are lies, right? God will speak to you and guide you. And so type in Fresh Fire or let us know where you are watching from. First up is from Fox News. Spencer Pratt just got bumped to third place in the Los Angeles mayoral race, but he's not conceding anything yet. Progressive LA councilwoman Nithya Raman has pulled ahead of Pratt by a few thousand votes, of course, overtaking the former reality TV star, as hundreds of thousands of ballots are still waiting to be counted across the city. It's like third war elections here in the U.S. or in California. Pratt argues the race remains wide open with roughly 355,000 ballots left outstanding, says the reports. I think it's a video. Go ahead and play that when you are ready.
Spencer Pratt's hopes of becoming the next Los Angeles mayor slipping away as the ballots continue to come in. Democrat Nithya Raman has overtaken his second-place spot in the race. She now leads Pratt by a couple of thousand votes. Matt Finn reporting live in the city of Industry, which is where the county ballot processing center is. This has got to be a disappointment for Pratt. Do you know if he believes that he still has the votes out there to gain back second place?
Yeah, John, actually a short while ago, he posted an update. And here in LA County, there's still an estimated 355,000 ballots left to be counted. That processing will happen here in this giant facility. The latest ballot dumps pushed progressive councilwoman Nithya Raman past Spencer Pratt by just a few thousand votes. Moments ago, he responded, writing, "Folks, we're dealing with a fraction of a percentage point difference. There's still hundreds of thousands of voters outstanding, and LA officials have given us the next 3 weeks to count. Let's get her done." Now, Mayor Karen Bass's campaign released a statement attacking Raman and labeled Raman Bass's general election opponent, seemingly ruling out a Pratt comeback. A Bass spokesperson writing, "We look forward to winning a contest against an opponent who allows encampments near schools and fights against hiring more cops, yet is MIA on saving Hollywood jobs and fighting back when ICE invades LA." In the governor's race, the AP declared that Democratic candidate Javier Becerra will advance to the general election, Republican Steve Hilton in second, Democrat billionaire Tom Steyer in third, and statewide, there is about 30% of the vote that is still outstanding as well, John.
The only way that this is going to be rectified is if the president does something like an executive order and fights it in court, which is probably, oh, wait, that's already happening today. We're going to talk about that. And that's what America wants. Now, election fraud, is like a conspiracy theory to many people on some sides. Well, won't say left or right, but we know which side that is. But the truth is that there's voter ID issues because they want to call it a race thing. They want to say that it's hurting people that's least likely to be able to get a voter ID, which is crazy. If you can get a driver's license, if you can get to government offices and show who you are, if a policeman pulls you over and they can easily identify you, there should be no reason why voter ID, or when you get your license or update your license and you go register to vote at the DMV or MVD, whatever they call it in your town, city, or county, you are registered to vote according to your ID. It's really not that difficult, but nobody really wants that in these crazy cities like LA because they don't want to be held accountable. You can mark a California ballot with a smiley face or a mark if the voter is unable to sign, which we know that's possible. There are injured people or disabled, but the laws are so loose, obviously, because you can do ballot drops because there's, early ballots or early voting. You can do batches of ballots from anywhere. God knows where, and you don't have to verify who you are. You can just put it in the box and it be counted. 3, 4, 5, a week later in Maricopa County. I think it was like a month later. And it's crazy to me that we can't do voting the right way in America. And thank God that change is coming. Now, it's going to be a battle. It's going to be a fight. This is why we need to continue to fight and continue to move on. All right, go ahead and cue up the next one, the next clip. It says this: if Pratt were the nominee, he would have spent months highlighting all the failures of the Dem leaders in LA. That type of campaign would have shown a national spotlight on the nightmare the city has become and could have helped GOP across the U.S. Now that opportunity has been lost. Well, just hang on there because the president did sign an executive order, but we'll get to that in a second. So the theory below is goofy. Colin Rugg says this: CNN's Harry Enton fumes that people are accusing Democrats of fraud after Nithya Raman surged to second place in the LA mayoral race, ahead of Spencer Pratt. Raman has surged with late ballots, while Karen Bass has, bizarrely, it's not continued there. Let's just play the clip.
The president says that it's rigged somehow. It's not. This is just the way they do it. But the thing is, the person who might be most upset about all of this, not a Republican, but the incumbent mayor of Los Angeles, Democrat Karen Bass. With us now is Chief Data Analyst Harry Etten. What am I talking about here?
Yeah, this is the dumbest conspiracy theory I have ever heard, because the Democratic establishment and Karen Bass wanted Spencer Pratt in the runoff. They don't want any part to do with Nithya Raman. Why is that? Because just take a look here. Okay, mayor runoff polls, Bass versus opponent versus Pratt. Bass would have crushed Pratt by 18 points. That's what the polling showed. Look at how she does against Nithya Raman. On the other hand, Raman is ahead by 4
All right.
Bass has a real race on her hand. If in fact,
I was hoping they'd start showing the graphs, because then you can really see the discrepancy on ballot drops, because this is what's happened before. Things go pretty much to what math shows, because the numbers don't lie. And then in the dark of night, you have ballot drops because it's mail-in voting. It's a mail-in voting show, and they get ballots from God knows where with inconsistencies and discrepancies. Like, what was it? Like 34,000. I can't remember the number. Excuse me. The number of ballots that dropped one night, and none of them were for Spencer Pratt, which is completely unlikely and not realistic when it comes to ballots and voting. But unless you live in states like California and LA County. All right, let's queue up the next one. Before she's working on that, I want to remind you guys to go to politicalpulpit.com for all your news stories from a biblical lens. You can also subscribe to our newsletter. You can also be a partner. That would be awesome. We need more partners, ministry partners. It's a company, but we are launching a ministry arm of the Political Pulpit Media, and it's called Fresh Fire Ministries, because we want to be able to do ministry at the same time and give you faith-based content. All right, let's queue up the next one. And if you're in the comment section, type in Fresh Fire. Let your friends know you're here. All right, next clip says this. Now, President Trump just confirmed the Ohio State Senate passed a voter ID requirement for state elections. That's great. Let's make it a law. Democrats fought hard against this, presumably so they can cheat. I am now asking all my Republican friends in the state house to also pass this now and put a constitutional amendment on the ballot so that the great people of Ohio can vote to enshrine voter ID in the state constitution. I will be watching and am strongly supportive of this resolution. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald Trump. Let's play it.
Coming up is the Save America Act in the Senate. That's voter ID and proof of citizenship and no mail-in ballots, corrupt mail-in ballots. We're the only country in the world that does it that way, corrupt as hell. And then we added 2 more. We're going to be, I think they're going to be adding a couple of more. One is no men and women sports. That seems like an easy one. I believe that's 99%. And no transgender mutilization of our children. None.
No brainer.
That's only polling at 98%, Speaker. So hopefully the Senate is going to be able to get that. You can't ask for 5 better things. I think in terms of it's all right,
that's good.
It's really.
President's very long-winded, as you all know. Thank you guys for joining us. Make sure you hit the like, share button, and hit that subscribe button as well, so that we can break through the algorithm and you can see when we go live. Let's queue up the next clip. This one is from Stephen A. Smith, who's been very vocal in most recent years, especially when it comes to all things politics, which is not really a traditional move from sports analysts, unless you're from, like ESPN, which he is. But it's usually just one-sided. Anyway, here we go. Stephen A. Smith stunned when California Rep. Kevin Kiley informs him his state bans voter ID requirements. Hold on. What? When did this happen? Go ahead and play that clip.
Have voter ID in places like California is extremely unusual in democracies across the globe. There's maybe like 2 or 3 democracies in the world that don't have it. This is just kind of like a standard administrative requirement. in a well-functioning democracy. So I think we should just have it. We should get this over. We should move on with our lives. It shouldn't be a big controversial issue.
Excuse me for being so ignorant, asking last question. This is definitely my last question. What do you mean you don't have voter ID in California? Could you please elaborate specifically on that for my audience that may not know?
Yeah, California does not have voter ID. You don't need to present it to register. You don't need to present it to vote. As a matter of fact, the state passed a law forbidding voter ID. So cities, counties, if they want
forbidding
ID, they're not allowed to under state law.
What? When did that happen?
A couple of years ago, because I think it was Orange County, they wanted to have their own requirements. So the state passed a law saying, nope, you're not allowed to. Voter ID is not only not required, it is actively forbidden.
Well, that's what it is right there. That's why the SAVE Act been proposed. Right there, the state of California. That's what the Republicans going to lean on as an excuse to definitely push forth the SAVE Act. Right there, right there. I can't believe it. I didn't even know that, sir. I'm embarrassed to admit.
There's a lot of crazy things going on in California, but I think, you are seeing a return to sanity in some ways. And I see it, Democrats, Republicans, and independents in California who are saying, we need to do some things differently in this state.
By the way, last thing, that no voter eligibility required. That's Gavin Newsom. Last 2 years, that was Gavin Newsom.
Correct. Well, so the law saying that a locality cannot have its own voter ID requirement. That was Newsom.
There you go. That was Newsom. That's all I needed to know. Thank you, sir. Representative Kevin Kiley right here with Stephen A. Really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Good luck moving forward. Know that you're always welcome to come back here anytime, sir. Anytime.
Thanks so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So the crazy thing about this is the moderates are going to start realizing how bad this is for the country, because now it's so obvious you can't even hide it anymore. It's taken us a long time. I mean, you think about the election in 2020, how ridiculous it was. Arizona elections are terrible. Actually, Maricopa County election system process is just as bad as California. And if we don't fix it, we're going to have the same issues. Arizona is crazily, strongly conservative. I mean, they say it's purple, and there's a lot of transfers, and a lot of people like to vote the same way that destroyed their old towns, cities, and counties. But there's still many of us that are very, very involved and strong in our conservative ways. But when it comes down to the election, and I believe things have been changed, we should have some of our friends that are here in the state representatives to come on and talk to us about election process in Arizona and Maricopa County specifically. But unless those things are changed, what's wrong with hand counting? What's wrong with a voter ID? If you can get your license, in order for us to travel across the country by vehicle, you need a traveler's ID. In order to get on a plane, you need a traveler's ID or passport. It took us an hour at the DMV or MVD, whatever they call it in your county, city, or state. And, it's in the mail in a few days. It's not that difficult. If you can go to the DES office or to get Medicare or Medicaid, you can get through that process. Surely the same process can include voter ID. It's just like, school choice. I mean, here's an idea. I don't know if this is going to work for anybody or even make sense, but school choice in Arizona was done through the Empowerment Scholarship account. It was an account that had already existed. All we had to do is include all families. So there are processes in our state like driver license ID or forms of identification or ways of proving who you are in the state that could probably just include your voter registration and share that data across the board. So when you vote, they can find you. Your ID can be identified through a server of some sort. I mean, they are building data centers all throughout the country, especially in Arizona. Surely we have the brain power, the compute power to identify people when they vote. It's really not that difficult, but for some reason, many on the left are freaking out over it. And listen, we shouldn't have to, when you cast a vote, it should go electronically through some sort of system that we can track and make sure that my vote counted for the people that I voted for. It's not that difficult. I mean, we got kids creating AI softwares and automations that could probably or have already figured this out. But when you let the government do it, they don't always do it the right way. All right, let's cue up the next one. All right, let's take a look before we move on. I want to thank our comments. We got our friend Jason Carroll, Fresh Fire, God bless you, Pastor, and then of course Oscar Alvarez, God bless, Pastor. Thank you guys for joining us, and hit us in the comments. Type in Fresh Fire if you see us, and let us know you are there, or let us know where you're watching from. Okay, tonight Rhode Island is hearing a bill H7434, which prohibits ICE from being within 200 feet of a polling place. Rhode Island won't have its illegal aliens deported before they vote one last time. That's the other issue. You got people that are non-residents, many thousands, actually millions, that have come across this country that shouldn't be voting because they're not citizens yet. If you're seeking asylum, that's a whole other process. If you're seeking to become a resident of this country, the last thing, or one of the last things that you should be able to do until you receive your citizenship is vote. Become a citizen. You can vote. I think it's fair. You go to other countries, usually you cannot vote unless you are a citizen. It's not that hard. All right, next one. Boom. The U.S. House has the authority to refuse to seat any California congressman elected via fraud. So do it. We can't verify only citizens with ID voted. Why should we seat them? Will Chamberlain, you can't guilt trip us socially, shame us into saying these elections are good. No, they are fraudulent. Go ahead and play it.
We're all basically in agreement. These elections are ridiculous, on its face, silly. Your insults don't matter. Sorry, leftists. Like, you can't just, like, guilt trip us or try and socially shame us into saying these elections are good. No, they're fraudulent. And, obviously, like, everybody's talked about the Save America Act, but I'm going to be a big proponent of one very simple fix that if the Supreme Court doesn't solve this with the election day issue, my simple fix is this. The way that these elections matter federally the most is in the House, right? California is always going to win its Senate seats. Obviously, it's a Democratic state. But there's plenty of contested House races that will be close-ish. I think Mike Johnson and the House and the Republican House caucus should, in November, look at the results and say, if you are a California representative and you weren't ahead on election day, we're not going to seat you until we do a full investigation of your specific election and you prove you won. I think that's the simple way. That would, and you can announce that in advance. I think that would wake up California to realizing, because remember, this is a democracy in multiple ways. It may be a localized democracy in California, but it's also a federal democracy, which means we have the right, if the Republicans are the majority currently, we have the right to say to Democrats, we don't trust your elections. And so we're not going to trust the results of your elections. And, deal with it. Like, we're not going to seat your representatives until you, unless you fix this, because we're not putting up with it anymore.
You think Mike Johnson have the balls to do that?
I think he will. I mean, I think the Republican House was willing to pass the Save America Act. It's the Senate where we've had these issues and the filibuster and all that stuff. The beauty of this is in the Constitution. Article 1, Section 5 says each house is the judge of its own of its own members and their qualifications, right? So it's just the Senate has no say in how the House decides to seat people. We don't need to pass new law. It literally, I think the only restrictions on it are based on some other constitutional ideas that each member will have to be given individualized process. So you can't just blanket say you're not seating everybody. You have to provisionally not seat them and then send them to get an individualized hearing. But I see no reason why you couldn't do that. You basically could, it would be unprecedented. We haven't done this before. Basically, this power has only been used in individualized cases where there's been really, like criminal indictments for corruption.
So, that's a real nerdy way of saying that we're going to try to unseat people or not seat them until they're investigated, which, I mean, that's a great idea, but realistically, how is that going to, push through? We got Mike Johnson, who's great, by the way. We absolutely love him as Speaker of the House, but he's also pulled on several different sides. He's not going to, I just hope that somebody does something, like the president today signed an executive order on, not allowing mail-in ballots. But, that's going to go through a whole legal process that's going to be long and drawn out by liberal judges that are going to just strike that down. And, it's going to be a continual fight. And it's almost like, all right, these executive orders are great, but there's always a longer fight to be had. And yes, we would love for the Speaker of the House to jump in that fight and say, we're not going to seat you until you're investigated. But realistically speaking, can or will that happen? All right, let's do the next clip. So this is the U.S. Senate has just advanced Trump's federal judicial nominee, Anthony Mattivi, for the District of Kansas, 49-42. Keep confirming. Activist judges have been running rampant. We need even more constitutionalists and conservatives to help cancel them out. Go ahead and play that clip.
On this vote, the yeas are 49, the nays are 42, and the motion is agreed to. Clerk will report the nomination.
Oh, this is just a nomination. All right, cool. Let's go next. All right, if you guys are watching this, make sure you get in the comments. Let us know where you're watching from. Don't be afraid. Help us out. Let us know. You are our friends if you are a friend of the program. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to go to politicalpulpit.com and take a look at, man, I'm trying to say too many words at one time. Take a look at the news. Senate Majority Leader John Thune should immediately fire the parliamentarian who treats Republicans and everything that they stand for horribly. She was put there by then Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid and Barack Hussein Obama. Need I say more? She's a nasty holdover from Mitch McConnell, a man who has proven to be very disloyal, that's very true, to John Thune, who decided to keep her because he loved giving trillions of dollars in the Democrats. But for the Republicans, including the, say wall? Where? Oh, the wall, the border wall. Hello. Anyways, that's just a Twitter rant or an X rant on making things move. It's so funny because people get angry at these tweets and these truths because, you know, the president has figured out that people are listening and they're watching. He's an ultimate, he's a great marketer. And so those truths, those X posts, those posting that he does, they do work and move the meter. Okay. Next. USDA uncovers massive SNAP fraud in cooperating states amid blue state resistance. The findings came from 29 mostly red states that shared SNAP data with the USDA after Rollins requested it early in 2025, leading to over 1,000 arrests and millions recovered. Blue states like California and New York refused, sparking lawsuits over privacy concerns and prompting threats to pause payments. Let me give you guys a quick story, something we experience in Arizona. We have people that move from California using SNAP, Medicaid, and Medicare, welfare, cash assistance, so that they can live in Arizona with taxpayer money from California. This actually happens. It's very common. It happens all the time. And if you're watching us and you're from California and you live in Arizona and you're using these benefits, this is some of the stuff that is happening. And yeah, it's got to stop. It's kind of crazy. Amid dropping enrollment by 4.3 million and broader reforms, the effort highlights a partisan divide on tracking waste in the $100 billion program serving over 40 million Americans. It's a lot of fraud. Oh, let's take a look at this clip. This is from Secretary Brooke Rollins. Go ahead and play that.
In a letter to every governor in America, no one had ever held the states accountable. The federal government funds the food stamp program. We send hundreds of millions of dollars a day to the states, but there'd never been a back end accountability on how is that money getting spent. So we asked all the states to partner with us this time to have accountability. The red states, of course, did. And with that red state data, we found 200,000 dead people getting food stamps. We found 500,000 people that were getting more than one benefit. And y'all, this was in the red states. The blue states wouldn't give us the data. They're suing us. We're in massive litigation right now, looking to cut those funds off until they give us that data. But the fraud is so rampant and so stunning that when the president, the vice president, and our team talks about, you know, when we can root all this fraud out, we're going to really be able to cut the deficit, make sure we're protecting the taxpayer, but also make sure we're protecting the families that rely on these programs at the same time and by getting the fraud out.
I love that she said that last part because that's one of the things that's the biggest fight. and I've had this conversation so many times and many times over, that they are going to cut Medicare to Medicaid from the people that need it the most, which is actually quite the opposite. Because if you eliminate fraud, then the people that need it the most will receive what they need. And instead, you enable many, many people that just rely on it and don't do better for their lives. I think it's important that we try hard, work hard. And if you have to use the program, then okay, I get it. But at the same time, work hard to get out of the program so the next person can use it as they need it. But there's nothing wrong with cutting fraud in all the right places. All right, next. J.D. Vance refers allegations against Waltz and Ellison to DOJ Fraud Division. On June 8th, a 205-page House Oversight Committee report detailed how Governor Tim Waltz and Attorney General Keith Ellison allegedly dismissed fraud alerts in social services programs since 2019, endangering $9 billion in Medicaid and $300 million in child nutrition funds amid the Feeding Our Future scandal. Vance referred the claims to the Justice Department National Fraud Enforcement Division for a potential criminal probe. The report, based on interviews and documents, highlights inaction despite FBI tips and whistleblower concerns, while Waltz's office calls it a partisan attack and notes fraudsters are now facing prison. Well, good. If you're breaking the law, you go to prison, right, Waltz? J.D. Vance says this: I referred these allegations to DOJ's new fraud division for criminal investigation. Minnesota state officials are not above the law, and if they facilitated fraud, lied under oath about what they knew, or harassed and intimidated whistleblowers, they must face justice. And that's the letter from the vice president. Nothing wrong with fighting fraud, I believe. All right, next. IRGC chief issues wild threat against U.S. Navy and Israel. We are fully prepared to make the Gulf of Oman a graveyard for the U.S. Navy within hours. Oh, stop it. There will be no U.S. bases or existence of Israel after the next phase of war. The mullahs talk tough while their economy collapses and their ships are stopped. President Trump and the U.S. military are not intimidated. It makes me wonder if, I wonder if there's like this agreement behind closed doors and they allow the IRGC to talk tough because they want to show that they're not fully decimated. And they're probably telling, the U.S. forces like, hey, we're going to say a few things. We know that we can't play this out, so don't overreact. But it's just to show face and let everybody know, or hopefully let everybody know we're strong. Or they're just crazy and they don't believe that they can be decimated at any time, or just don't believe the president will do it. I would not poke that bear because, he is a little bit willing to push certain buttons. All right, how are we doing? Let's keep it going. Next. We have Blackburn and Graham introduced voter roll verification and grants bill. The Election Security Partnership Act offers $20 million in grants to states that quarterly submit registration lists to DHS SAVE program, which flags potential non-citizens. Following Tennessee's model of regular roll cleanups and voter ID, this narrow approach comes as the broader Save America Act requiring proof of citizenship and photo ID passes the House, but stalls in the Senate due to lack of 60 votes and opposition from our GOP senators, plus Democrats. Like, I don't understand some of these senators in the Senate. It's unreal. Blackburn cited a New Jersey reported of non-citizens on rolls, mostly Democrats who voted years ago, while critics from both sides debate its impact, with conservative pushing for border changes ahead of 2026 midterms. I'll tell you what, 2026 midterms, if we're not careful, are going to be a nightmare unless we have people in Congress and Senate that make the appropriate changes. Otherwise, it's going to be I don't want to say a landslide for Democrats, but they're not going to just go away. I mean, they're already hitting the streets for signatures, petitions, They're always ahead of the game when it comes to marketing. They're always united when it comes to doing what they need to do. So if you are a conservative Christian, dare I say Christian nationalist, what are you doing to combat the change that we don't want? Because we are making headway in this election cycle. We're making good progress when it comes to advancing the conservative movement. What is a conservative anyways? Like, what does that mean to you? What does that mean to me? Because there's a lot of conservatives I don't agree with. Well, to me, it's having your biblical founded, biblically based voice. And I posted something today on X that showed there was a school board in Minnesota that wanted to, help. I don't know, what was it? It was to advance transgender rights for children. And I'm like, this is like typical of the fight that's local to everybody. Everybody has a voice in your local elections. It's a Minnesota school district. Let's pull that up when you guys get a chance. We posted it on the Political Pulpit website. You can find it here. Minnesota school district moves to add Muslim holiday to, I said transgender. It's Muslim holiday to school calendar, sparking community debates. So if you're a Christian and you care about what your children are learning in public school because you cannot take them to private school or homeschool them, which we understand, then you need to get involved. Rochester Public Schools. It says this: a Minnesota school district is at the center of growing debate after officials propose adding. I don't even want to try to say that, but it's a wide day of beginning in the 2027-2028 school year. It's a holiday, a Muslim holiday that they're going to celebrate in American schools in Minnesota. Come on, you guys. Like, this stuff should matter to you. And if you don't show up, if you don't fight for your kids, somebody will gladly take that territory. So why officials propose a change? Well, Rochester Public Schools serves approximately 7,500 students and has experienced significant demographic changes over the past decade. School leaders say many Muslim families already keep their children home during the Eid celebrations, resulting in noticeable attendance drops, according to the district. So they're going to acknowledge this Muslim holiday and let kids stay home, and so that they can, but before you know it, these celebrations will happen within their school. If you don't get serious about it, if you don't make these changes locally, if you don't get involved, this is why we are here. This is why we do what we do, because otherwise maybe you just didn't know about it. And I'll tell you what's happening in Arizona. You have businesses that are coming that are being owned by, which is fine. Listen, this is America. You can own whatever kind of business and have a religion that you have. But let us not forget something. America is a Christian-based country. It always will be, because we're not going anywhere. So yes, you're free to celebrate and free to worship, but it's not a place where we're a Christian nation, and it's our job to keep it that way. You might not like that, but it's the truth. All right, let's pull up something else, another clip from Political Pulpits. Something happened in Arizona today. Let's just have a little fun with this. A bear fell out of a tree in Arizona. A brown bear, I think it was. Or was it a black bear? Let's pull it up as soon as you find it. Go to the homepage, miss. There you go. It's not there. Then you lost it. Did you delete it? Come on, producer Destiny. Hit. All right, well, just pull something up. Oh, this was fun. Trump actually left an interview because of NBC. Did you guys see that? He walks out of an NBC interview because she's always pressing the president about nonsense stuff. So Trump walks out of NBC interview after clash over election integrity and media bias. It says this: President Donald Trump is once again making headlines after abruptly ending a heated interview with NBC's Meet the Press, setting off a fresh debate over election integrity. It's always over election integrity and the border. They can't argue about the economy because the economy is doing great. Gas prices are falling. Once the war is over, it should, man, I'm praying because our vehicles, man, we're talking about 30 plus gallons in our tanks. And it's ridiculous. So, it's one of those things where we're in the fight, we're in the battle now, so they can argue that things aren't great, but we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. All right, before we continue, I want to take a step back and remind everybody to go to www.politicalpulpit.com/partner. Find out how to partner with our ministry. It's a company, but we're calling this a ministry. We're also launching Fresh Fire Ministries International because we are also reaching different nations, different groups, different cities with the Word of God. We're going to continue to put faith-based programming out because I think it's important. We're also partnering with our friends at Proverbs Media Group, where some content gets released when we go and visit them and talk about all things faith. We talk about God and the Bible and Jesus Christ and how he could save your life. We've done some amazing things with OSN.TV, which at the end of the month, expect new content that's coming out. And then we're also going to the Faith and Freedom Conference to celebrate freedom with our Hispanic brothers and sisters. And keep a lookout for more content. Let's end the program with a fun story that happened. Well, hopefully a good story that happened in, I think it was Sahuarita, Arizona. Sedated bear crashes through a rescue tarp in the wild. Wild Arizona. Oh, okay. Yeah, this was actually, it says wild, but it was in a neighborhood. So what began as a routine wildlife rescue in southern Arizona quickly turned into a viral moment after a sedated black bear, so it's a black bear, that's what we have in Arizona, crashed through a rescue tarp and landed directly on it. So the incident occurred on June 2nd in Rancho Sahuarita, a community located south of Tucson. So do you have the clip attached to this? No, that's okay. All right, we'll go to the picture. Scroll up. That bear literally looks like my dog called Winnie. And she flies off the couch in that same pose. But anyways, you guys, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate everybody that joins us on the Political Pulpit Newswire. We will be going live once again, tomorrow, Wednesday, and hopefully for the rest of the week. Keep a lookout for more content. If you are following us, make sure to interact with us. It really helps us on the Political Pulpit. Keep a lookout for the Fresh Fire movement. We are going to do some work in different cities. We're actually got a call to go to New York to feed veterans and to pray and preach to them. We're super excited about that, but we're going to do it under Fresh Fire Ministries. But we want to thank you guys for joining us and thank you for all your hard work. Make sure you queue up that end the live stream desk because we're ending soon. Thank you so much, guys, and God bless.